Right now, I'm gonna show you how to nature journal during a storm. Step number 1, keep your journal in your pocket so that it stays dry. Even so, I recommend using some type of water resistant paper such as the Write in the Rain journals, and a pencil or one of the pens that they provide. So right now I'm going to be nature journaling here on the property where I live. It's just been pouring inches and inches of rain and will continue to do so while I'm nature journaling. But there's a really cool phenomenon that I want to nature journal, and it's the kind of thing that a lot of people might not nature journal. I personally usually would avoid this type of thing because it's not like a bird or an orchid or a scorpion that I can just draw. It's like a weird phenomenon, and this is also an abiotic phenomenon for the most part, which is something that we don't nature journal enough. We're often nature journaling plants and animals, but there's all these other aspects of nature, such as the weather, that are abiotic, meaning they're non-living. So there's these really cool sort of springs that form on my property when it rains hard, and they're actually caused by gopher holes. How cool is that? So I'm going to try to nature journal them. So the first thing I'm going to do is get under a tree and do my metadata under a tree. Whoa, look at that. Whoa, it's deep in there. That's crazy. Whoa. Pro tip. Don't get your hand really muddy before you start journaling. Ideally, keep a clean hand that you can use. This is the Prismacolor Ebony pencil, and these are a soft, really dark graphite, but that is not as messy as some of the other graphite pencils. I find they're really good combined with this Write on the Rain paper during wet weather. You can get special pens, and I've tried several that are supposed to work with this paper. So for example, this is a ballpoint pen made by Write in the Rain. It clicks, which is kind of convenient, and it has a nice design. But I'll try both of these out, but I found that a lot of times the pencil works even better than these so-called waterproof pens. You can see that the water beads up there on the paper quite a bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and start a new page right here with my metadata. It's okay if you have a messy style on a rainy day. The messiness is not that important. What's more important is fault tolerance. So your style should be more fault tolerant on a rainy day. So you can see this pencil does quite well, even pushing through the water droplets. I'm gonna put a title here. Gopher hole artisanal. It's artesian spring. And then I'll make like a cartoon version of that. Okay, so there's sort of my title and all that. Now I'm going to go around and explore. So the first thing I'm gonna do is look at this hole right here. One thing that would be good would maybe be to create a map of some sort and map out where these are located around on the property. But I'm gonna start, since I'm right here, there's one right in front of me, and I don't know how much time I'm going to be able to handle being out here in the rain. I'm just gonna go ahead and start nature journaling this one right here. I probably should have brought something to measure with, but I didn't. think the main opening is probably about 10 inches across. I wish I could measure or estimate the rate, the quantity of water coming out. That would be a really cool measurement. Oh, there's some sediment going on down here. So I'm gonna draw the sedimentation that's happening. There's some rapids here. I could try to draw the rapids. Remember, water is a challenging subject to draw, so I'm gonna be easy on myself. I'm gonna call this hole number 1. There's lots of apples around here, but I'm not that interested in that. Maybe I can make a symbol for some of the things I'm going to be drawing, like what sediment looks like, and I could do a little bit of a legend. So you can see the paper is getting quite wet, but the pencil is working fine. That looks pretty good to me. One thing you can always do, especially if you're using ink, you're gonna have to do this more often, is rub the paper off, rub the extra water off the paper with the inside of your jacket or something. I'm gonna experiment a little bit with the other pen, the ballpoint pen, to see if it works as well as this does. And while doing that, I think I'm going to move to another hole. So let me find another hole. Here we go, here's another hole. I could also just draw the trees if I wanted to, but that would be kind of a cop out. It's really easy for me to draw trees. It's sort of like a comfort. It's sort of like my bread and butter. But drawing and nature journaling abiotic, oh my gosh, look how many apples there are down here. Look, I'm making apple cider or sauce. Woo! See, these are the kinds of things you miss out on if you don't nature journal in the rain. Okay, let's look at this. And I'm gonna use the other pen now. If I can find it. There's roots all around this one. Oh yeah, this pin is not working anywhere near as good as the pencil there. Not even close. I don't see where the sedimentation is. Oh, there's a little bit. Okay, just for comparison, look at how faint and less fault tolerant that is than the pencil. So even though this thing looks really cool and costs more money, it's not working as well on the Write in the Rain paper in the rain as this basically art pencil, this ebony, Prismacolor ebony pencil right here is working great, much better, even though it's not specifically designed for that. So that's always a sign, in my opinion, is when something that is specifically designed for a task performs less well than something that's actually designed for another task. That is a sign that it's a bad design, especially if there's something that's designed for a different purpose that actually is doing a better job. So sorry to whoever invented that pen, but it's not really the greatest thing ever. Ooh, look at over here is really cool. I like that piece of wood. Maybe this could be part of my Halloween costume or something. Hello and welcome to the Nature Journal Show. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna nature journal a couple more holes now that I switched back to my other paper. So I'm gonna go to this one here, and then I'm going to do a map, I think, next. Oh, I didn't get the size on that last one. Number 3. It's really raining pretty good right now. This one has grass. What kind of roots? And this one's not as wide across. There's sedimentation just right below it too. It's only like, well, it gets wider inside the hole, actually. Where do the gophers go right now? Where are all the gophers? Okay, so I just want to point out right now, this paper is starting to get to the limit. This paper is not completely waterproof, and I just want to point out it's starting to get to the limit of what the paper can handle. So you can see here, it's changing color a little bit. And the feeling of the paper changes quite a bit at this stage. And at this stage, your previous pages can also be getting affected and damaged. So that's one benefit. If you're doing nature journaling in the rain, take a journal that doesn't have that many pages. That way, or even just take a few loose pages might be another strategy. But this paper is starting to be compromised. I've been out here for maybe 15 or 20 minutes only. Where are all the gophers? Okay, so now I've got 2 pages filled here, 3 different holes that I kind of surveyed. Oh, this one's like, what did I decide? 5 inches. Okay, now I'm gonna start a new page and do a map. I'm going to do a map of where I'm seeing these holes. For this kind of thing, it's helpful to be at the bottom of the landscape, because if you're at the bottom of the landscape, it's easier to look at the way that water moves across the landscape, and it's easier to kind of estimate where the contour lines are if you're looking at everything from down the slope. So let's see if I can wedge the camera right here while I do this. Okay, so can't see the holes as well right now, but I don't care. I'm just gonna do this. One thing to remember is that drawing can be a tool for communication and making someone else see something, but drawing can also be a tool for helping you see something or learn something in the process of the drawing. And I think that is an often underrated value of drawing. So if even by doing this, if I don't make a perfect map of this zone, or if I never even look at this page again, the process of trying that will in many ways help me learn more or notice more. Oh, I just noticed a big huge branch broke on that old apple tree. That is sad. I'll have to go check that out in a second. So I'm just kind of imagining this here, and I'm gonna start estimating about how many of these holes there are. The biggest ones being down at the bottom of the hill. If I was better with water, I would try to estimate what the flow is. And I would say I can guess maybe at the drop in the terrain. I think I'm probably like 6 feet below. This is probably 6 feet to here. I'd say it's about a gallon a second. I'm gonna definitely use a big fat approximate sign in front of that number. GPS, okay, hopefully I'll remember that that's gallon per second. And then let's see how many I've got. I'm gonna walk around and sort of count how many I have in this zone. But they, interestingly, not all of them at this lower level have such a high flow rate. There is variation, even though they're all at the same kind of distance down the hill. So let me go look over here at this one. So this is the stage where sometimes doing the drawing will make you come up with like hypotheses about what could be happening. So this definitely looks like a lower flow rate, but it is further down the hill. So that's kind of interesting. I'm also curious about like what effect having all this organic matter on the surface, what effect that has compared to like in the apple orchard next door where they have the ground completely clear, because that's how they manage it. I wonder what effect that has. So it looks like there actually is a variable besides how far down on the hill it is affecting the amount of water, because look at how much more water is coming out in this zone right here. So this zone right here is definitely something I want to try to include on my map. Okay, so now I'm at the point I already mentioned before. I was noticing that the paper was being compromised. You can see that the mark making is also being more compromised now than it was before. So here you can see that this page was kind of clean when I started these lines. And then over here, it is a lot fainter because that paper has already been affected. Similarly on this page, these are some of the earliest notes that I took, and you can see it gets lighter. And I think partially that's because the graphite on the pencil has a coating of water on it, and the page has a coating of water on it. I'm also at the point you can see where the paper is being affected, but the binding is also starting to be affected. So I would say that with one of these Write in the Rain books, of all of the types that I've tested, you can probably only be in like real rain for about half an hour before you start causing what could be a sort of long-lasting damage to your book. So this is not necessarily the answer if you're actually going to be in the rain for really extended periods of time, or if it's actually raining that much. It might be good if it's just sort of misty or something like that. Oh, here's a really big one. Look at this one. Oh, look at the sediment right here, right next to it. It's sedimenting. You can feel multiple tunnels down here. Like, well, actually, no, it's just mainly one getting carved out. So I've mentioned before in another video that stopping before you're done is an important practice. So I recommend, if you're nature journaling during a storm or in the rain, definitely stop before you're done. So don't force yourself to go super long, and go inside and make yourself a cup of hot cocoa. While you're waiting for your water to boil to make your hot chocolate, I think it's a good idea to take your journal out of your pocket. Make sure that it's not just sitting there in the pocket of your jacket wet. And one thing that happens is these pages, especially the recent ones that got rained on, these pages will stick together, and they'll be stuck together just in one lump like this right here. And so that means they won't dry very well. So especially if you're hoping to get in another session during the same storm, then I recommend you go through here and you can either wipe these or sort of pat them down with some type of cloth, or you can just separate them out and leave them near a stove or somewhere where there's a little bit of a airflow. That will help them dry out, because you can see these are pretty stuck together and soaking wet. on the inside. You could also use your blow dryer if you have one. We ended up receiving a record-breaking 10 inches of rain in a 48-hour period and lost our electricity for 2 days. Here are some cacao powder and a really good brain-enhancing mushroom powder that I like to use in my hot cocoa when I'm nature journaling. Make sure you reward yourself with something warm and tasty after your nature journaling in the rain. You deserved it.